I am going to make an effort to put up some more videos, and to do so I'll probably have to look up some news topics in the geek space and kind of go over some of these news topics. Now, I definitely don't want to get into rage bait. I don't want to get into a constant barrage of negative stories. There are some negative stories. I want to grow this channel. I would like to have this channel monetized. I know everybody tries to be a YouTube celebrity. Not necessarily my goal to be a YouTube celebrity, but if I can do something I love, talking about geek culture and the geek space, and make some money while doing it, why not? Now, of course, YouTube has made it a little harder to grow channels than it was at one point. So we'll see how this goes. If I create content that people deem worthy, the channel will grow. I've never really been a fan personally, and this is just me. I don't want to constantly ask you to subscribe and like. I get why people do it and I understand it. This is their livelihood. But sometimes I think that can be a little bit annoying. If the content I create is good, if you feel that my opinions are worthy, you will listen. Some people listen because they don't like the content. I never understood why people do that. Typically, and this is just me, if there's a channel I watch and I find myself or I find that I don't like the content, I just don't watch. Again, that's just me personally. I know not everybody has that same view. That's just something that I do. Anyway, I want to, again, try to put out some more content. I'm not going to make any promises, and I'm not going to promise any kind of upload schedule because I work shift work. My hours change sometimes. Sometimes I work long hours, and I live a normal life. I work a regular job. I now understand why people who constantly put out content build businesses off of this, and this is all they do. It actually takes a lot to put out quality YouTube content. Anybody can put out any kind of content, but to put out quality audio, visuals, and cover things that people actually want to hear, yo, that takes time. And when you're working a regular job and trying to do this, I'm not gonna lie, it's not a simple thing to do. Now, I'm not saying that this is the hardest, thing to do on a planet. I've worked actual jobs. I work an actual job. This is not hard, but it's also not something that you can just do passively if you want to succeed at it. So anyway, trying to succeed on this channel, trying to produce some content you might like. I saw this article on Fandom Pulse, and the title of the article is Marvel redeemable? Blood Hunt and Ultimates have fans returning to comic shops. There are some people that just want the comic book industry to die. And I understand why people have that viewpoint. Fans of comic books have been slighted for so many years. But I don't know if that's the proper idea to have or the proper mentality to hold. You just want the entire thing to collapse. Now, if it collapses on its own, it is what it is. Things come and things go. This is part of life. But if the comic book space is redeemable, I would like that. I grew up as, I would say, not an outcast. I had friends, had a very good life, but I was a geek. Look, let's keep it real. Geeks, especially the era I grew up in, 80s and 90s, geeks weren't the most widely accepted. There's a lot of things within the geek space now that people celebrate and herald. It was not that way when I was growing up. And the things within the geek space brought me much joy. Comic books, sci-fi, video games, these were all things that I loved. I spent much time doing these things. And I also spent a lot of time outside. I think that's the difference between the generation we have now and when I grew up. We were able to balance both playing video games, watching movies, reading comic books, and spending ample time outside. Of course, it's a different time, but this article is Marvel redeemable. If you have not been reading Ultimate Spider-Man, now Ultimate X-Men, I'll be honest with you, it was recommended to me by my local comic shop, and I just was not a fan. It it was not good. I don't know where the direction of the Ultimate X-Men story is going. The art, the story, none of it was appealing to me. But I will tell you what has been appealing. Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate Black Panther have been very good in my humble opinion. I would tell you, I have no problem recommending you go to your comic book shop, buy these books and check them out, especially Ultimate Spider-Man. I am thoroughly enjoying Ultimate Spider-Man. Okay, Marvel Ultimate Stretch has been going on for some time now, but the most recent Ultimate Spider-Man, which started in January, brought waves of excitement back into the comic industry. The main cover of the first issue hit over $100 on eBay. This had some fans weary that Marvel would not stay on this trajectory. And yo, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought that same thing. I thought, man, this story is really good. I really enjoy it. Marvel's not gonna stay the course. That's what I thought. I was like, at any moment, Marvel's gonna decide, oh, we're just gonna go our own way and we're not gonna continue with the way this story is going. Anyway, uh sadly, the Ultimates high did not last long. Ultimately, X-Men would release without any X-Men even in the comic, and a boring high school drama story that nobody asked for. Eventually, even Spider-Man would fall off, with issue 4 being a boring issue with only one location and a bunch of people talking about nothing. Now, I personally don't agree with Fandom Pulse here. I think so. This is what I think, and I think this is a product of what Marvel has done in slighting fans. I think Ultimate Spider-Man is doing a very good job of world building, building out the world of Spider-Man. And look, this is from my enjoyment. None of you out there may appreciate this. A bunch of people may disagree, but I have no problem with a world being built and a story being built. This is one of the first times that I can remember I read a comic book that had a lot of dialogue and not much action, and I actually enjoyed it. I had no problem with it. I was like, yo, this is actually super enjoyable. I appreciate what's being done here. It's one of the first times, like I said, I think the first time that's ever happened for me. So I said all that to say, I disagree. Not kinda, I really do disagree with Fandom Pulse here. I think they're missing the point. There is a If you're gonna get fans to return, to some degree, you have to start from scratch. Now, yes, we want comic books with a lot of action, but this is a different scenario. People have been bored with Marvel, and now what Marvel is attempting to do, or it seems like it, they're attempting to really build a dynamic backstory that allows for static stories branching out from that dynamic backstory. I am no writer. This is just speaking as a fan. This is what I think. Now, Blood Hunt has released with issue 2, released most recently with artist Pepe Larraz, forcing Marvel to put a content warning on the book because of all the blood and violence. This is something some fans will find disturbing, but some fans find it exciting. And this is the thing about the way stories go. And this is why I said what I said about the Ultimate Spider-Man and how I actually enjoy and appreciate it. There are going to be things that people love that other people don't love. It's going to be impossible to please every single fan. I think at a bare minimum, if Marvel stays away from what I would call pandering to certain people. Like, yo, write a good story. Don't worry about pandering to specific people. When I say pander, I mean, okay, we got to write this into the story because we just have to. If an artist or a writer wants to write a story and they feel, yo, this would be a good story right here, write the story. Some people will like it, some people won't. But I don't like when artists say, well, we're going to write to grab this audience. Write a story that you're inspired to write. Some people will like it, some people won't. And I think that actually generates better stories. So the article goes on to say, and guess what? There's no weird sex stuff. The only disturbing content is blood and gore. Some people are going to like that. I personally don't need to see blood and gore in a comic book. If it is in the comic book, it's not going to bother me, but it's not a necessity. The thing about both Blood Hunt and the Ultimate Universe is that even though they are things to be criticized, the woke brain rot is mostly missing from them so far. And I would say this is true. Now, some people might be offended by the term woke brain rot, but let's be honest. Let's just be brutally honest. There are many things contained within most modern comic books that are agenda driven and not good story driven. If an artist or a writer has a proclivity to write a story a certain way and it's just the way they write and it's good, yo, people might say, yo, I don't really like this, but I enjoy the writing in this book. But when you can tell, oh, there was an agenda behind this. It wasn't because the story was good, it's just an agenda. That's not necessarily enjoyable. It says even Ultimate Black Panther had a lack of it. And I'm telling you, this is true. Look, if you're on the fence about the Ultimate, some of the Ultimate comic books, again, I cannot say I enjoy the Ultimate X-Men. I bought one issue, and for me, it just missed the mark in every way. I want the traditional X-Men. I understand time passes, time moves on. The X-Men team might change. I get that. Change it organically. Don't just thrust me into this thing. I'm not going to lie. I just didn't enjoy the book. I felt like it was a waste of my money. Personally, you might like it. I'm just telling you what I think. It says, this brings hope to Marvel fans that Marvel will continue this trajectory and we can have a return to normal stories with these characters. I agree. But what do you think? This is what the article says. Will Marvel continue to make stories that fans stories for the fans, or will they pull the rug from beneath us and replace these stories with woke garbage? I personally do not think they're going to replace these stories with woke garbage. I don't think so. And this is the reason I don't think so. There's only so many losses you can take, right? They might have taken a gamble on, oh, we're going to try this new thing and we think it'll work. And then it turns out, actually not so much. And they tried it again and again and again, and it didn't work. I think the strategy, whatever strategy it is they have, maybe it's not a strategy. Maybe it's just, hey, just tell good stories. If that's the strategy, Marvel, stick with it. What's being done, not with all of the Ultimate, like I said, I'm going to bring it up again and again. I do not like Ultimate X-Men. I do not like it at all. But Ultimate Black Panther and Ultimate Spider-Man, so far, I think are great books. And if Marvel continues on this course, if the course of these books affect the rest of their books, yo, comics might be in a better space than we think.